Well, it's time for us to meet our next guest. She's IGXTELLE ACHA, an attorney licensed to practice in New York City, in the United States of America, owner of a construction company. She is a counselor and founder of the not-for-profit organization, the Immigrant Mom. She's here to tell us about successfully surviving, living and thriving overseas as a Cameroonian. You're welcome, IGXTELLE.
Thank you, Patience. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.
Okay, so how was the transition for you into 2021?
2021, I think I looked forward to it with a lot of anticipation. Transition, I would say hopeful. You know, hopeful for better, because 2020 introduced us to quite, a new terrain. So I would say the transition was hopeful.
And talking about quite a new terrain, when we talk about COVID-19, how did you live it in the United States of America?
I think like most people, the way we lived it was just, surviving it as just being cautious, understanding that it's not a hoax, it's true.
Yes.
And we had to follow the protocols that were set out by, the health officials, wash your hands, wear your mask, 6 feet distance, and, just being prayerful and hopeful that, our family will stay safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then let's just skip to a level, because we have to talk about you getting to the United States of America from Cameroon. Expectation versus reality.
Yeah.
Why did you leave, and how surprised or not were you when you got there?
So prior to the United States, I lived in South Korea for 3 years because I went to law school. So that prepared me for the U.S. And so when I got to the U.S., the reality of hard work was presented to me. Like, nothing is given to you on a platter of gold. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be determined. You have to be resilient. You have to be consistent. And I think that, more than anything else, like the buildings and the roads, those principles, I had to learn them really early to be able to get me to where I wanted to be, and has gotten me this far.
And I think I do agree. So many people, the reason why you're here this morning is just to break some myths. So people believe that once you cross over, a house awaits you. Some people still believe that in 2021. But there are realities that we have to set right. One of the realities is you work hard in your country, you still have to work hard wherever you go.
Absolutely.
And the most challenging part about being a foreigner living in another country has been what exactly?
I think just being away from your comfort zone, because I would say that my country here is my comfort zone. I know my way around. I'm with my parents, I'm with my family. But being abroad, being in America is not my comfort zone. And so I had to step out of that, out of what I know. Your comfort zone is where you're familiar, what you know. Step out of that to learn, to be adaptable, to be able to, learn a new language, learn a new skill, learn something new, just so you can thrive in that new area.
And also, most importantly, fit in. Did you feel uncomfortable being an African in whatever environment you were found in?
Initially, I would say no, but then initially there was the struggle of owning who I am. Accepting the fact that I am proudly Cameroonian. That's the first thing. And in Cameroon, we sound a certain way, which is different from people there. So I was not ashamed to use the word, but I had to accept my identity, because when you accept your identity, then people can accept you.
That's true.
And that was, what I had to do.
And then when we get to the factor of you being an African, did you face any form of racism as well in the country?
Yes. But the thing about racism is, if you are very conscious of it, you would see it all around you. If you're oblivious to it, you would see someone who is short-sighted or someone who is not open to diversity that will manifest things that could be thought of as racism. But because my mind was focused on other things, I paid no attention to people who had those tendencies.
And what lifted some eyebrows when I talked about you coming on the program was attorney in New York City. Is that something that Cameroonians should accept, that it's possible to go to a place that's foreign and excel?
Oh, yes. Definitely. Definitely. It starts off by saying, what do you want? Because that's how I started out. I identified the goal. When I was going to the U.S., I knew I was going to take the U.S. bar, the New York bar. I knew it was a goal to pass it. So Cameroonians can. But the answer is not whether or not you can. It is whether you want it.
That's true.
It's whether you want it. Because if you want it, you will put the resources to get it. I wanted it. I studied hard for it, and I passed it.
And you're also a business owner.
Yes.
Now, how difficult or easy is that?
It's tough. Because, you know, we all have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Nobody has 28. Nobody has 48. We have 24. And so 24 hours with being a wife, a mom, an attorney, a business owner, I have to manage my time. So that's the difficulty, the discipline, understanding that I push myself even when I don't want to do it. I step out of my comfort zone over and over again to do the things that I need to do.
And construction company? Okay, because people will go towards, okay, business owner, maybe she's into beauty or something. No, construction company.
Yeah.
Why the choice of that?
So when it comes to business, I usually say identify a need and meet the need. Because when there is a need and you meet the need, you're providing value. So a lot of people like abroad in the diaspora want to build homes, want to build infrastructure, but they don't have people to follow up the projects for them. They have middlemen that are scrupulous, that take their money, that are not accountable or transparent. And the construction company came in to bridge that gap, to say, you can trust us. We'll be transparent. We'll be accountable. We will talk about the fees with you, and we'll hand your keys when we're done in record time. So I identified a need and decided that it was better, or the best way to meet the need was to come up with that middleman company that could provide the services to the diaspora.
You just mentioned something. You're a proud wife. You're a proud mother. And there's this myth that we have to break as well. So many people believe that it's difficult building or even finding a good relationship in America for an African. Is that true? And how did you succeed to break that?
I have to say, she didn't prepare me for this question. Well, how did I succeed? I mean, I would say I cannot boast of anything, but I would count on the grace of God for bringing me, you know, in connection with my husband, for connecting us. He's a great man. I would say also that you are a reflection of the kind of relationship that you attract to yourself. Because if you're wanting consistency, you should be consistent. If you're wanting faithfulness, you should be faithful. If you're wanting commitment, you should be committed. And, you know, allow yourself to be and meet new people. You know, sometimes in America, because we have access to the cars and the houses and the money, sometimes people meet people, other people, with a barricade. They're not open.
Okay.
But just have conversation. Just get to know people just for the sake of knowing them. Respect just for the sake of respect, not because you want anything.
IGXTELLE, you make it sound so easy, but when we go online, we see a lot of people complaining that it's not easy finding a good man in America. A lot of Cameroonian ladies. Why do you think the problem is that, as you said, they have preconceived notions they have to break off?
I cannot answer that for everyone. I think everybody has their own unique situation, but I think everybody would have to ask themselves the question. Because I had to ask myself the question, what are the patterns in your relationship? A couple people may be stuck up on stereotypes. They want a 6-foot-tall man, making 6-figure income, driving a certain kind of car. Does that really matter? So it boils down to everybody just really questioning their preferences.
Yes.
What are your preferences? What is good to you? Because sometimes good for others may not be good for you.
You know why I'm putting her in a position like this? Because she's also a counselor. So I knew she would get the right answers, and she got them. But then you're the founder of the Immigrant Mom. You're so passionate about this project.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yes. The Immigrant Mom started out because I had my babies without my mom. You know, my mom lives in Cameroon. My mom and my dad, they live here. And, you know, the way it is in Cameroon, when you have a child, people come home celebrating with you. But when I brought my little baby, I was just with my husband, and I didn't really know what to do, including how to give her a bath.
Yes.
So the organization is pulling together other women who had that same experience to say, you don't have to live in the ignorance of this new phase as a mom in a foreign country. You have other moms. We're going to team together. We're going to build each other up. We're going to learn. I could hook you up with a job. I could hook you up in a relationship because I know you. We're just a community of women with the same struggle coming together, you know.
So far, how has the experience been for you?
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. You know, when I started out from my experience. I had no idea that there were so many other people, not just in the U.S., in Germany, across Asia, everywhere.
Wherever you find immigrants who are mothers.
Yes, everywhere. And, you know, the response I got made me understand that it was a right thing to do. It was a godly vision for me to have engaged in.
Talking about visions, what's the Immigrant Mom's vision for 2021?
Our vision actually is to set up a uniform standard across all our chapters, because we're still in our building phase, and we're building out chapters across the U.S., which we will replicate throughout the world. But we will start off in the U.S. by building our chapters, setting out what we want. We're big on inclusion, making sure everyone feels included. So inclusion is our watchword for 2021 and building out those chapters.
But then you're also really good at reaching out to the community overseas. This Christmas season, I saw some pictures. You reached out to people who could not have the kind of happy-go-lucky Christmas we have. You know, when I was in the U.S., I had this experience. My brother-in-law, hello to you, Ken, he consciously took me out. Once I arrived, he consciously took me out. I was in Maryland, to go to the slums, I would call it over there. And I was really shocked. And he said, that's what I wanted. I wanted you to see that there are people in need everywhere. Right. So it's not only found in a particular continent. So that's why I want to establish this fact, because when I talked about her doing community outreach overseas, or like, do people need it there? That's just a broad view to believe that they're not helpless people everywhere. So your passion about that, tell us.
For those who don't know, there are children who were separated from their parents at the southern U.S. border. So those little children, 5 to 13, are going to be already spend Christmas without their parents because they were locked up in a shelter for reasons that we cannot get into now. And so the organization said, we're immigrant moms, and there are immigrant children somewhere without their parents. What's the least we can do? We can put together gifts, we can put together stuff, we can take it to them. It could never replace what they would have had if they had their parents with them. But it's just to say, we're thinking about you. We know it's tough. You cannot imagine a 5-year-old without their parents on Christmas. It's unheard of, but it's someone's reality. So we took that step to ensure that they have that.
I could see on your faces the satisfaction, and I'm sure you'll definitely continue. But then in Cameroon, do you have any projects or plans in the country?
More to come.
More to come.
More to come.
All right, so to wrap this up, just one responses will do. What did 2020 teach you?
Faith.
Faith.
Yes.
And
faith.
What do you want to put as a stamp of IGXTELLE ACHA on 2021?
IGXTELLE ACHA lives by faith, not by sight.
So faith runs through.
Yes.
IGXTELLE, thank you so much for spending this morning with us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I'm sure whenever you're back in the country, we'll be glad to receive you. We're going to have a little break, possibly a promo. And when we come back, it'll be time for Press Gist. On our Press Gist, we talk about what you may have missed out in newspapers. So you can catch up with it with Ken Bigochi.
Okay. Thank you.